Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most absolutely profound transformations in human history. We're talking about the massive shift from a world dominated by smokestacks and heavy factories straight into this highly connected digital era we live in today. We're going to trace this evolution by looking at the sea of data around us, how institutions like libraries have transformed, and most importantly, the actual people who turn all that raw data into real power. So, let's kick things off with a question that really sits at the heart of our entire explainer today. Are we currently living in an information society or a knowledge society? Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, well, aren't those exactly the same thing? But as we'll uncover, there is a massive, fundamental difference between simply having access to data and actually possessing the qualified human minds needed to apply it. To demystify these pretty huge sociological concepts, here's our roadmap. We'll start by defining our modern global society, check out the evolution of libraries, pin down exactly what the information society is using 5 distinct perspectives, look at the great debate from the World Summit, and finally, step into the knowledge society.
All right, let's jump right into our first stop, understanding the modern global society we find ourselves in today. Think about how human progress has marched forward. For centuries, we existed in an agrarian society, totally rooted to the land. Then, boom, the 19th and 20th centuries brought us the industrial society, heavily focused on manufacturing. But then the late 20th century triggered another massive pivot, pushing us right into the post-industrial or information society, driven incredibly fast by rapid tech developments.
So how do we define where we are exactly at this moment? Well, modern society is intensely integrated and globalized. It literally melts away traditional geographic and time barriers. The legendary management thinker Peter Drucker made a brilliant observation here. He noted that modern society is really a society of institutions. Think healthcare, education, the economy. And the survival of these institutions? It depends entirely on their performance, and more crucially, on the everyday human beings powering them. To really see this shift in action, let's look at the evolution of one of our oldest institutions, the library.
Historically, libraries were basically viewed as secure vaults, Just physical places designed to guard printed materials. But obviously that's no longer the case. The library has fundamentally evolved into a dynamic service organization. It acts as this absolutely crucial interface between users and the unimaginable amounts of published information out there, serving everyone from students and scientists to everyday citizens.
It's a total paradigm shift. We've moved from the librarian acting as a mere custodian to a service-oriented information provider. We went from a localized physical collection to a library without walls that has true global reach. And timing? Instead of getting information eventually, in good time, today's users demand it just in time at the push of a button. We don't just go to the library anymore. The library literally comes directly to you.
Now that level of global digital connectivity naturally leads us right into the concept of the information society and the sheer explosion of data.
The whole concept of the information society really exploded in popularity back in the 1970s and 1980s. Thinkers like Daniel Bell were theorizing that the rapid rise of technical professionals, early information and communication technology, or ICT, and computers meant that theoretical knowledge was becoming the new core of our socioeconomic system. Information had suddenly transformed into a massive, tangible source of wealth.
But how do you actually measure an era?
Well, experts break it down using 5 key perspectives.
Academics use these 5 distinct lenses to analyze our shift into the information age: the technological, economic, occupational, spatial, and cultural perspectives. It's like a giant puzzle. Let's actually break down what a couple of these look like in practice so you can see how they fit together. Take the economic lens, for example. Check out this number, 46%. The researcher Mark Porat found that as early as 1967, 46% of the United States gross national product was already accounted for by the information sector. By redefining information workers to include things like internal business data processing, Porat showed us just how deeply our economy was relying on data literally decades ago. Now, occupationally speaking, an information society fully arrives when people doing information tasks, like teachers, researchers, analysts, actually outnumber factory workers. And spatially, it's defined by these massive global electronic networks connecting continents instantaneously. Though we should definitely note that for a lot of developing countries, building out this critical ICT infrastructure is still a major ongoing hurdle to joining that global spatial network. But there's a flip side to all this tech, captured perfectly by this quote. "We are surrounded by more and more information,
and less meaning. I mean, just think about your own social media feeds or the constant smartphone notifications we all get. The cultural perspective serves as a warning that simply having an abundance of technological infrastructure doesn't automatically give our society any deeper significance.
And this exact tension between tech and meaning brought about a massive debate at the World Summit on the Information Society.
During the World Summit in Geneva and Tunis, two incredibly distinct paradigms really clashed. The first is the technology-driven paradigm. This view argues that technology itself is the causal driver of social order and economic development. Basically, countries just need to build the infrastructure and let the telecom industry lead the way. On the other hand, you have the society-driven paradigm. This view insists that humans, cultures, and organizations are the true foundation. From this angle, technology isn't a neutral leader at all. It's just a support tool that has to be carefully guided by the interests of the people. And it's that second people-centric vision that paves the way for the ultimate evolutionary stage, the knowledge society. You see, while the 20th century was all about building the information society, laying down those endless networks and digital infrastructure, that was actually never the final goal. The information society is really just the building block. The true endgame is the knowledge society, which gives rise to a knowledge-based economy, or KBE. In a KBE, we aren't just hoarding data, we're actively using information to empower human development, innovate, and create sustainable, equitable wealth.
UNESCO's Dr. A.W. Khan sums this up incredibly well. He notes that while the information society is heavily linked to tech innovation, the knowledge society requires profound social, cultural, and political transformation. Knowledge isn't just about pure economic growth anymore. It's about empowering all sectors of society. This is especially true in developing countries, where applied knowledge can literally help them leapfrog over traditional developmental barriers.
Sociologist Manuel Castells makes a really brilliant distinction here that we need to highlight. An information society emphasizes processing data, but a knowledge society, that emphasizes the highly qualified people who actually apply it. Whether it's explicit knowledge written down in a textbook or tacit knowledge learned through years of hands-on experience, knowledge resides exclusively in people. Because of that, the absolute greatest wealth of any nation is its human capital.
So what does a functioning, knowledge-based economy look like in the real world today? Well, we look for an exponential growth of new knowledge globally. We see a massive expansion in research capacity. We see heavy investments in human capital, creating highly educated populations. And backed by strong ICT infrastructure, we see boundless global networking, where teams across the planet can collaborate instantly to innovate.
Which brings our explainer completely full circle today. Just as libraries evolved from quiet vaults guarding physical books into dynamic global service centers, human society has evolved right alongside them. We've transformed from industrial factory workers to digital data processors, and now into empowered global citizens whose primary role is to create and apply entirely new knowledge.
So I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder. Modern society's success relies entirely on the performance of its human capital. And hey, that means you. So in this new era, are you simply consuming the endless sea of information around you, or are you actively generating new knowledge? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this sparks your curiosity to keep learning.